Hi everyone, welcome. So the Biden administration's highly anticipated first talk with China took place last week in Anchorage, Alaska. The meeting's lack of results was expected, but the drama of how it unfolded was not. It was the first time in a while that China and the U.S. had a high-level formal meeting. The press used expressions like heated exchanges, fundamentally at odds, and traded angry words to describe the event without providing any details. So I dived into the matter and did my own research. On day one of the meeting, the two sides agreed to an opening session with the press. Each of the two diplomats from each side would have 2 minutes to speak. Being the host, U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken opened the session and spoke for 2.5 minutes. He was followed by National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, who spoke for a little over 2 minutes. China's leading diplomat Yang Jiechi spoke for 16 minutes and 14 seconds, breaking the protocol. And after the translator translated his speech, Yang spoke for another 3.5 minutes. Then China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi spoke for over 4 minutes. So from the very beginning, the Chinese broke the protocol by dominating the session. This is obviously intentional. By the way, China's state-controlled CCTV reported the exact opposite of what happened and accused the U.S. side of seriously going over the time limit. As far as what they actually talked about, many media reports glazed over the subject and avoided the substances. Well, maybe they were lost in translation, or maybe some of the things the Chinese said can be embarrassing to some Americans. I must say the Chinese interpreter did a great job of toning down the words of the Chinese officials. Anyways, I saw one published transcript, but it's sugar-coated and is missing the insinuated meanings behind the original Chinese. Let me give you the real deal. In his 17-plus minute speech, Yang directly and indirectly described America as a problem-ridden, aggressive nation that kills its own people and launches meaningless wars to kill people of other nations and topple their governments. Whereas he painted China as a peace-loving, fast-growing, successful, and law-abiding nation. He called America a destabilizing factor in the world and implied that the whole world knows that America is paying a price for its democracy or the lack thereof. He took advantage of the current political division in the U.S. and stated that Chinese people love their leaders more than Americans love theirs. I retranslated his speech, and please take a look.
而美国自己国内现在很多人对美国的民主并没有信心，对美国的政府有各种各样的看法。而在中国，根据美国的民意调查，中国的领导人得到了中国人民的普遍的赞扬，所以任何诋毁中国社会制度的做法都是徒劳的。事实已经证明，这种拙劣的做法只会使中国人民更加紧密地团结在中国共产党的周围，沿着我们所制定的目标前进。
I'm just very curious which American companies conducted the Chinese survey that Yang mentioned. Maybe it was funded by the Chinese. Yang is a career diplomat who has been called a scholar diplomat for his mild temperament. Last year, when he came to Hawaii to meet with the previous Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, he was very courteous and polite. But this time, he put on a straight face and lectured his U.S. counterparts for a good 20 minutes. It was probably because his boss, Xi Jinping, asked him to. His boss may be very angry. Xi Jinping favors Biden over Trump in the White House because he thinks Biden is weak, but that doesn't necessarily mean Xi respects Biden more. He probably thinks it's okay to lecture Biden's officials a little bit. But a series of events leading up to the Alaska talk deeply upset Xi and were the reasons behind the Chinese diplomat's rude behavior. First was the Quad Leader virtual summit that the U.S. initiated with the head of state of India, Japan, and Australia. They met in mid-March for the first time as a group to put forward an agenda to address Chinese behavior in the Indo-Pacific region. Then Secretary of State Blinken visited Japan and South Korea with Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin. In the joint statement issued after the visit in Japan, U.S. and Japanese foreign and defense ministers warned against coercion and destabilizing behavior of China. In South Korea, even though Blinken's joint statement with his Korean counterpart didn't mention China, China is greatly annoyed by the increased anti-missile collaboration between the U.S. and South Korea. So this series of events greatly upset Xi Jinping. To get even with the U.S., the Chinese Communist regime used one of its common but vile tactics, targeting innocent civilians to seek revenge. During the same week that the U.S. hosted the Quad Leadership Virtual Summit, Chinese police detained 9 students, including 6 Americans, who attended New York University in Shanghai, in 2 separate incidents on the same night. 2 of the U.S. students were apprehended at a bar. In a separate incident, 7 students from the United States, Finland, Morocco, and Malaysia were taken into custody while attending a birthday party. 2 of the American students have parents who work for the U.S. Defense Department. The students said the police used unnecessary force. In both cases, the students were apprehended by plainclothes police, and this is very unusual. On March 17th, the day before the Alaska meeting, the U.S. State Department issued a statement to sanction 24 Chinese and Hong Kong officials for Beijing's ongoing suppression of political freedom in Hong Kong. On the same day, the Federal Communications Commission, or FCC, said that it has begun efforts to revoke authorizations for 2 Chinese telecom companies to provide telecom services in the U.S. Xi didn't expect all of this. In retaliation, on the day of the Alaska meeting, Beijing authorities put 2 Canadian citizens, Michael Spavor and Michael Korvik, on trial. The 2 Canadian Michaels have been held for over 2 years as retribution for Canada's detention of Meng Wanzhou, the CFO of Chinese tech giant Huawei. Meng is wanted in the U.S. for violation of U.S. sanctions to Iran. Xi's anger is also evident in the speech China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi gave in Alaska. Take a look.
中方过去、今后、将来都绝不会接受美国方面的无端的指责。同时，我们要求美方要放弃动辄干涉中国内政的这种霸权的行径。这个老毛病应该改一改了。我尤其要在这里指出的是，就在3月17号，美方竟然在涉及到香港问题上，再次升级对中国的所谓的制裁。这种粗暴干涉中国内政的行径，激起了中国人民的强烈的愤慨，我们当然坚决地予以反对。
One U.S. State Department official reportedly said that the Chinese officials often put on a theatrical performance for their domestic audiences, And it might have been the case in Alaska, so they could show that they won. After Young's 17-minute-long monologue, when the translator asked if she should translate, he asked, "Is translation necessary?" So he didn't care if the Americans got what he just said. He came to Alaska to put on a show intended to arouse Chinese national pride. The communist regime needs this type of public drama to maintain its tight grip on the Chinese people and to divert attention from domestic crisis. This drama is evident by the show he put on in front of the Americans.
美国不代表国际舆论，西方也不代表国际舆论。无论是从人数上来讲，还是从世界潮流来讲，西方的舆论不能被认为是国际舆论。所以，我们希望美国在讲什么普世价值啊，什么国际舆论的时候啊，想想自己心里是不是踏实。因为你们不能够代表，你们只能代表美国政府。我认为世界上绝大部分国家不承认美国所说的普遍价值，不承认美国的言论就是国际舆论，不承认少数人制定的规则就是所谓以规则为基础的。
Nonetheless, both Wang and Young's aggressive behavior was well received back home. State-controlled media promoted their remarks from the meeting. A Xinhua-affiliated news site said that the U.S. exposed its lack of confidence and made an empty show. The major Chinese news portal Sino announced that the days when China was a silent lamb are gone forever. On the second day of the meeting, news came out that the Chinese regime is restricting employees of state-run enterprises and military staff from using Tesla cars because of security concerns. I did 2 videos on the tricky relationship between Tesla and the Chinese government. I predicted that the regime will use Tesla as a bargaining chip in its battle with the Biden administrations over trade and human rights issues. You can watch the videos by clicking there. By the way, my website is up. It's laysrealtalk.com. You could go there and take a look. Please share this video with your friends and thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.